Morning Flosstube. It's Pam, stitching between the lines. It's Thursday morning, September 23rd, 2021. The cat came in the room. This is video number 100, and I made this video 2 days ago. Very organized. I had notes. It was an hour long, and the cat is now on a flat surface coming over where the piles are, so there could be an accident. Anyway, I edited the video, and I was in the process of saving the video in my iPad, and I had a little bit of a hiccup, and the video went away. So here we are again. I changed the quilt though since the last video. The last video had the old quilt up there, so this is something about pumpkins. Let me get out of the way a little bit. I have hung this in my house for years. I got it as a block of the month when the pattern was new. I'm going to speculate it might have been around 2009. And interestingly enough, I've had it, I always hung it in our basement family room before, but I don't have that kind of wall space anymore. So I didn't hang it anywhere last year. No, I did up in my loft over the railing. This year I just wanted to do it different. And Marlene had the same one in her dining room background, so I don't know if that made me reminded me of it. No, not really. I was up in the loft and I was thinking about swapping out the I have a patriotic quilt that's hung over the rail. I was thinking about swapping that one out for this, and I don't know. I couldn't make a firm decision. I have only just started to get into the bins of fall decorations, so I wasn't sure what else I might come up with that I might like up there. So anyway, here we are. No notes, so we're winging it. I thought I would be back sooner. I thought I would be back when I got my picture from Hobby Lobby, but a series of events, and here I am now. So not really the end of the month so I can recap my full month, but we'll get the idea. So at the end of August, I did not have with me a finish that I had in August. That was a Mania 2019 start, Sue Hillis's 'Twas the Night, because I'd already taken it to Hobby Lobby to be framed. So using Hobby Lobby for framing is new for me. First of all, the Hobby Lobby is new around here, and it's not even around here, it's up by the mall. It's like a 45-minute at least drive, but I don't know. I took a wedding picture there to buy a pre-made frame, and they didn't have anything that fit it, so I showed you in August, and the woman there is very, very knowledgeable about framing, as I spoke in the last video. And so I decided to take something there. Now, the frame is awesome. They don't have a great frame selection. But this works. She was very pushy about wanting glass, which I was good with glass on this one, but usually I prefer a little bit of batting, and it sort of just puffs up a tiny bit. It's a less formal look. But this one turned out really nice. I am quite happy with it. It's on a piece of, I'm sorry, it's not even a bright day, so I can't even explain the reflection, except that there's glass, and it's supposed to be like the best of museum glare-free glass there is. So I don't know why you're seeing a mirror image of mine, like it's a mirror. Anyway, it's on a piece of antique Monaco. Antique white? Antique? I don't know what they call it. I tried, this is a third piece of fabric I started it on, trying to get that little bit of a yellow look like they have in the pattern picture, which I don't have with me. Looks just like this. So this worked. This is great. I'm very happy with the results. I'm not sure if I'll take anything, how soon I'll take anything else there. Primarily because I feel like the framing selection is just not all that great. I don't know. I don't know if they will get more of an inventory as the store is in existence longer. Like, I'm not even sure it's been open 6 months yet, so I'm not really sure what the deal will be. So we'll see. So that was a fabulous FFO. Very, very happy with it. And then I FFO'd another item or two. I showed this a couple months ago with the sort of boxed corners. Not sort of, they are boxed corners. Susie Reno had showed a picture of one she'd done, and I thought, oh heck, I know how to do that. So I think she's done a tutorial. So anyway, with this as the model, I went, and this piece I finished years ago. What year is that? Oh, 2019, not all that long ago. Holy cow, why does it feel like years ago? Because it was like years ago. This is, I put the pattern away. Country Cottage had these monthly pieces, came out, a package of 2. It was a thread pack, so you get the pattern for 2 months. This is July, and it came July and August came together, and you got the overdyed threads. I tossed the pattern, not tossed it, it's put away. The word July went here, but I didn't want the word July there because I wanted to be able to have it out all summer. So I replaced it with a flower, and it came out quite nice. It's not, I don't stuff these things bulging full because you sort of cross between bulging out the front of your piece, but nobody's roughly handling these. This fiber fill should stay nice. Oh, what's wrong? Sorry. What is it? Cat's not really vocal, so I don't know why he's meowing. What's wrong, Cooper? What's wrong? He's coming our way. Something's not working right for him this morning. Usually he's off and asleep. It is very early. It's only just turning 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's very rainy, so I don't know why he feels a little off kilter. So the companion piece to that is August. I'm gonna work on. I don't know what to do about that glare. I think it's just the rain. I don't know. We'll work around it. I did the August piece, and I had chose this frame a couple years ago. I went to Michael's with some pieces I wanted to buy prefab frames for, and I had an encounter with the person behind the counter who was very insistent that I leave my piece for custom framing. I mean, seriously. And she said to me, I said, she's, showing it on there's a camera mounted up over the counter, and they show you what your picture will look like framed. And I said something about, no, I'm not custom framing this little thing. I can do it myself. And I don't get glass. That was some part of the conversation as she's trying to force me to choose and adding up prices. And she said, well, if you don't have glass, how do you keep it in the frame? How do you keep it from falling out? So no piece will ever go to that store to get framed. So anyhow, wow, I told the story last month about being at Hobby Lobby, and she was finishing a piece. The woman that runs the frame shop was finishing a piece, and it was something a customer had brought in, that she had a frame that was bigger than the piece, so that she couldn't wrap it around like the foam core or lace it, pin it, any of the things. So she had sewn the piece to the foam core. So I thought, ooh, that's what I'm going to do for this. So I dug it out, because I still have all 4 frames I purchased with all 4 pieces that are meant to go in them unfinished, because that's how it goes. And I tried to explain a little bit, I think, in my last video about how she had done that. So I thought maybe I could show you along the way, but it too complicated. And so here's the done portion. The mat was already part of the frame, and I will insert some pictures. The first one shows how I laid the piece on the foam core and pinned it all around, matched up the middles, just got it all positioned in lots of pins. So that's a picture here. Then with hand, thread and needle, I sewed the piece to the foam core board, up, down, punch the needle through, stretch with my fingers. So I will show a picture here. And you'll see my stitches aren't exactly straight because it's kind of hard. You're coming up blind from the back and you're trying to stretch the piece with your fingers. And this is my first time ever doing that. So it's not neat and tidy under there, but nobody sees it until somebody in 100 years takes this apart and says, holy cow, what was she doing? So that was just the most, at this point, invaluable piece of information I have learned about framing in a long time. So, July and August, Country Cottage, they were thread packs. I think the patterns are circulating around again, not with the thread. You can't get a thread pack, but you can get the patterns. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. So that was another FFO. So that was all my FFOing, I believe, since the last video, which is a lot for me because that's just not my thing. And then I have to look through my pile, admire the quilt for half a second. I did finish July by Paula Vaughn, which I predicted I would do in the last video, but I hadn't completed it yet. So there's the picture in the book. There's 12 patterns in this book. Paula Vaughn, Quilts for All Seasons. I see it pops up on eBay, and I follow Stash Unload. So it comes up every now and again. There are lovely quilts in here. I think about what I'll do next sometimes. I like this one and I like this one. And I especially like the scene around this one, although this pattern is not my favorite. I like them all. I don't know. This backstitching really, I don't know, had me down, I guess. So I'm not in a hot hurry, to jump back into it. This is, I think, on a piece of that MCG even weave, pretends it's even weave, but it's ever so slightly uneven weave. But it was really, it's just a gorgeous piece when it's done. The quilts, well, this quilt was really fun to do. This quilt was a challenge because there's a lot of shading in there and the pattern symbols are tough. The rest of it's just straight up cross stitch, lots of outlining. It's fun the way the outlining brings out fabric, like a style of fabric, all that shirting it's called, kind of fabric, which I love. I love the look of it in a quilt. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I may order something, a frame online. There's a quilt store that recently closed. It was always one of my favorites. And they've gone to online sales, but they had a big selection of barnwood frames, and I thought they said that they were going to continue the barnwood frames. But at this point, I haven't seen them in their online shop. So, I don't know. Oh, that'll take some thought. So Paula Vaughn got done. Paula Vaughn was also a 2019 Mania start. Then I forgot in the last video to tell you what my focus piece for the month of September was going to be. It was this one out of the Harvest Time. I started this on Thanksgiving, and I had, prior to working again on it in September, I had the turkey done in the border around it, and that was it. I had no expectations whatsoever that I would be able to finish this piece. But I did. The leaves, while they look intimidating, aren't. As you start, everything's all floppy. As you start on one, there's a mirror image to do. You could even go over here and do these. So it's just layers of colors. You do the center, you do the green around it, you do a bunch of centers. I don't skip far and wide when I do something like this. I stay pretty close to a portion that's already done so that I don't miscount. So I just I did these two, I did these two, I did these two, and then along the way I did the little components and the border as I went. The border, I'm really happy with the border color combination. I'm not a big fan. If I'm going to try to frame or stretch or finish something myself, I don't like that there's a boxed in border, because I am worried that my stretching abilities will be evident if there's a straight line close to the straight line of whatever I've mounted it on, or the frame it's in. So as I'm working away on this, I thought, I wonder what this one will look like as a drum. But I couldn't get a good, accurate feel for it until I had already done started in on the second end. So I already had one whole side done and was, probably half a leaf done, and was working on the last one, had the border done. So I did a quick little wrap of it to see what it might look like as a drum, which it actually would be a lovely drum. Yes, it's good sized, but if you had it in an arrangement on your dining room table or something where people would see the sides. But I waited too long to really to plant that idea, because first of all, I had both borders done, but also if these leaves are to match up and look like a single leaf, there's overlap. There's 2 rows that are duplicates. So then if you took out those duplicates, the points on these 2 maple leaves would overlap. So you'd have to know further in advance than I did. Okay, so there was a little hiccup there. I had to sneeze. It's rainy and chilly and damp today. So pretty sure that's all that's about. You would have to maybe make some adjustments prior to having the border in these leaves pretty much, 80% stitched. And these guys somehow adapted, making their little stems a stitch shorter and putting them a little bit closer so that the points didn't overlap. But that's an idea. That would make a lovely drum. So I am just thrilled to have that done. Now, my general rule is that I like to have a prairie schooler going at all times. I have not I have not thumbed through my file of prairie schoolers to see what I'd like to do next. The monthly one for February is sort of on my mind, so maybe. We'll see. We'll see if we do that. And there's another little hiccup. Whatever. Thank heavens for editing. And then, oh my gosh, let me see what's in my pile before I say this is... No, let's do this one first. So part of my goal in the last month, this month, next month, is to do some of Erica Michaels' strawberries, because I signed up for the Erica Michaels strawberry class in November. It's a virtual class through Needleworkers Delight. So I made one I showed last month that's fully finished, and then I wanted to just have some more done so that after I watch the video I have some techniques or making the top methods of making the toppers. I'd have some strawberries done. I don't have any trouble sewing this together, making the template, blah blah, doing that kind of stuff. So I used Victorian. I have 4 colors of Victorian motto threads. I used them all in here. They were a gift from my stitching friend Lori, and the only color I had to add was a brown for the bunny, and they came out so cute. Maybe I had to add the orange. I think so. 4 colors: purple, yellow, white, and blue. Green. I don't know. Don't quote me. I probably didn't even write it down. Doesn't matter. You do you. I'm doing me. So that one is done. I'm going to put it in my pile of berry patterns. And then, oh my gosh, my round robin came back home. So in the spring, I have a group of stitching friends. Most of them make Flosstube. We call ourselves the Friday Flower Girls. And I suggested that maybe we could do a round robin, and it would be in lieu of Christmas exchange gifts. Their gift to me would be stitching on my piece. My gift to them would be stitching on their piece. So we all picked a pattern, and we started it, and then we started it around. And September is the last month, so mine came home last week, and my choice was Kathy Barrick's Autumn Harvest Sampler, which is so beautiful. My style, 100%. I almost, as I started stitching on it, I almost regretted choosing it for this, because that meant I wasn't stitching all the little elements. My fabric choice was Treasure Map by Color and Cotton. I used to be in the Fabric of the Month, and this was probably a Fabric of the Month. Pretty much, I've only ever bought Color and Cotton through Fabric of the Month or seeing her have a trunk show somewhere. So there's my finished piece, all the called for colors on this piece of Treasure Map, which is a really nice gold. It's really kind of hard to get the idea. It's darker than it looks here. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love that. I cannot thank my stitching friends enough for what they did on my piece. And because it was, a Christmas kind of thing, they all included a Christmas card. It was just lovely. It really was beautiful and fun to open. My piece has been sent off, so it will be arriving in its original home maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. So soon, very, very soon. And then what else did I do? I just have to say, I'm sorry, I made this video once and then I distributed things. So I had a couple purchases. I bought Turkey Bay because, finally. And I bought a Twin Peak Primitive pattern. It shows some ice skaters, and it shows a bridge, and it has a... I'm gonna go get it. Just hold on. There's a quilt. There's background to admire. Okay, so I don't have to edit again. That wasn't so bad, was it? 1899's Christmas from Twin Peak Primitive. I absolutely hate the verse. I've never heard that before. I hate it. But I love anything that looks sort of like a European Christmas market, as this does. And of course there's the ice skaters and the bridge in the city. I really was taken in by that. And since I was buying something, I got a pattern that I have liked for a long time. And then, because I saw Kelly Stodola stitch these, and they were cuter than I ever dreamed, I got that. So that was my pattern purchases. And then because I was looking for the little business card that came in it, and again, I put it somewhere because I wanted to use the information in the drop-down window. So between now and editing and uploading, I hopefully will find it. But she's not hard to find if you need to. I bought some bags from Creative Carol Designs. So let's just take a quick look. She's on Etsy, and Creative is with a K. Carol's with a C. Designs ends in an S. So she's on Etsy. You can find her there. And I wanted a larger bag for Kringles. So I have that over here, but this is what's in my hand. I couldn't resist this because I love every time this hot cocoa kind of fabric comes out, I have to buy some. I have like a bin because I'm going to make a quilt. I'm going to have enough fabric for like 3 or 4 quilts. Like here's a fat quarter bundle that just happened to be out when I was making the last video, so I just grabbed it to show you that I'm not telling a lie when I say I buy this fabric every time I see it. But here's the other bag, and since of course the video remaking, I've filled it with Kringles. This is Carol's. It's a larger bag. I don't know if she considers this a medium one, a large one, but I just needed a larger one because I have lots of threads. I have multiple patterns in there because of the Santa, choosing the Santa situation. And it's Christmas pattern. One of the things I knew I had and was considering as an option when I showed Kringles and my options for Santas was I knew somewhere I had this button. So that I think would be a really cute Santa to have in there somewhere. So that button is in here just in case it comes to that, that someday I ever actually start it and finish it. Not that I don't finish things I start, but I seem to not be able to make myself start it. And then, oh my gosh, maybe what I'm doing is waiting for the next Little House pattern to come out, right? It's Little House, Country Cottage, one of them. There was a sneak peek, and it's like Main Street at Christmas kind of view, I think. Oh my gosh. That's really what I'm waiting for, I'm sure. I'm sure I didn't know I was waiting for it, but holy cow, that is my kind of thing. So it's the sneak peek said it was coming out at the end of the week. So I am like holding my breath. So anyway, as I got done with Prairie Schooler before the month was out, I thought, I have more than a week left. What should I do? So I was considering my options, and I ran across the Farms of Cochran Hollow, which I've been working on since, I think I bought it in 2017, and I gave it a weak little start, and then I got really made a serious effort in Mania in 2018 to do this whole thing, and then in 2019 I did these two. Mania 2019, and then my goal from 2019 to 2020, I think I got these years right, was to accomplish 2 more, which I did. And then more recently this year I've done these 2, and I have these 4. But this summer I boxed in all these so they would be easier to jump right into, and I thought, well, if I can do 1 a month, September, October, November, December, I will have this finished, which will make me very happy because it's been a few years. It's not my oldest whip, I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. Before it became a really, really dedicated active whip. So the other day I pulled it out, and I'm working on Monday barn raising, which is going quite well. I have all the little fussy nonsense to do now, like the little peoples. There's a person here, and there's a person here, and on the ladder, and a few little doodads around the picture. I think it's the one that with the least amount of stitching. You'd think this one would be, but those chickens were so fussy. Like, these guys are checkered. Like, that was not fun. So anyway, this one I'll have done, and then in October this one. That's my goal. That's my dreams. My goals and my dreams. There's a lot of stitching in this one. I actually like this kind of stitching though, where you work around, you have letters to work around, so you count correctly and stitch correctly. You stitch 4, you skip 2, you stitch 44, skip 2, back and forth. And then I always do, if there's stitches like this that are in a big bold background, and the same with down here, I do the background first and then the stitches that make the letters over top, so that the stitches that make the letters don't get buried. And it really, on this 40 count 1/2, I don't really have that problem. There's plenty of room for all the threads to lay nicely without pulling each other down into the well. So I'm making nice progress on that. And I will do a second strawberry this month. So I pulled out the one with the least amount of stitching, I thought. And it turns out these are 2 different strawberries. I thought they were like one was the flip side of the other. So that, but it only has 5 colors of thread, 1 that's a DMC, 4 that are over dyed. I only had 2 of the 4, which shocks me, but whatever. And I picked out a piece of Dixie sampler hand-dyed fabrics that I purchased. She sells them on her Facebook page. And this is a piece called Antique Porcelain, which is actually a little bit more pink than, it's probably no way it's showing up any amount pink here. The two colors I did have were raspberry and bee's knees. Oh yeah, bee's knees. Which actually look kind of nice on there. I got out my Victorian motto to be the light color. And then there's something with green. I don't know. Did I find the green? Where's the green? Did I find green? Oh, maybe I found I maybe found a substitute. Scupper Nug or whatever it's called. Or maybe the red is the substitute. Let me look. Bee's knees, oilcloth, raspberry. Oh, bee's knees. So I actually could only find 2. The red and the green. Bee's knees, I knew I had it. I knew it. I bought bee's knees over the summer when I thought I needed it for something, and it turned out I didn't. It wasn't the right, I don't know. And I still couldn't find that, so it's gone into a kit somewhere, so I rummaged around in all my whip wannabes and found one and took it out. So now I'll be looking for it another day. Oh, there was another project I was going to show you. I have put it away. It's... Excuse me. I'm going to go look. Because... I clean things up so nicely. So after we did our whip wannabe parade last time, which I'm so glad you guys enjoyed that because it really was fun to do. I was watching Dina half stitch cross stitch and she showed a whip and I thought I have that, I'll kit it up somewhere. But I knew I hadn't shown it. I hadn't come across it in my two bins of whip wannabes. Well, I knew I'd find it sooner or later because, you know. And I did in my whip bin. So, I don't think I'm going to start it right away anytime soon. But it's interesting that it got into the whip bin. So, I don't want to reward bad behavior and start it. Otherwise, my whip bin will be overflowing with things that jumped in there all on their own. So, Patriotic Sampler by Jeanette Douglas. I bought, a couple years back, I bought some gingham that I thought would look really fabulous on this pattern. I have the button pack. I have the silk bundle that I bought. And it's a big mess. I don't know why. Laying all by its lonesome in the bottom of this bag. Well, it just got stuck on my ring. Here's a good reason why it's a mess. I really should sort it and get it on, you know, Floss Keeps or something. So, a whip wannabe that thought it could be a stowaway in the whip box. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what happens when you make a video and then have to remake it. When I made the video last time, I had hanging on the last video that aired, I had hanging on that quilt in the background, I had Vibrant Vistas, which is my Heaven and Earth design pattern. And I had it still on there when I made this video the first time. And then, of course, put it all away. So the thing that this, you know, I've reintroduced this back into my circulation. And I hope to get some time working on it. I had wanted to... get some kind of Android tablet so that I could have Pattern Keeper. So when I made the video and talked about last time, I had not received my tablet yet. So what I ended up ordering was, you don't want to see that, is a little, what do you call it? A little Amazon Fire tablet, which was very inexpensive, and because of that, it's got ads on it. So that's when I opened it up. It doesn't say Amazon Fire nicely. It has an ad on it. So my lack of knowledge as to how to make it all work. I keep trying to find a button on the top to push. But because I'm holding it upside down, it's more complicated than I'm making it out to be. So, and Pattern Keeper is not an app that's immediately compatible with an Amazon Fire. So I watched a few YouTube videos and read tutorials about how to get this to accept an app from, I'm looking to see if there's going to, oh, here, okay, excellent. I thought I was going to be able to show you a picture of a book when we talk about books, but it doesn't want to open up the cover of the book, and that could be because it was a library book that I read. I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to Pattern Keeper. So I was determined to get Pattern Keeper on here, even though the YouTube videos were like, you just click these two things and voila, there it is. No, it was a very complicated process, but I was not giving up. So I found a very good step-by-step website, or like a post. So I went all the way down through it, and it still missed a couple things that I gleaned from prior watchings, and I managed to get it on here. So it's on there. It's smaller, a smaller screen, and so it doesn't show as many columns of the picture as I'm maybe used to seeing. But what is very nice is you can touch a symbol and it highlights all the symbols on that page that are that, where you need to stitch. I had the pattern on my iPad, on my old iPad that I broke. It shattered the glass. It's like shattered. And because I haven't worked on this in several years, I never moved that pattern to my new iPad. And my having an Earth Design account, my time allotted to download that pattern had expired. So I got out the old broken one, which you can still turn on, but it's, little pieces of glass might fall out. So it's very gentle, very delicate work. And I got it from that iPad to my new iPad, like 3 years old, I don't know. And then could then get, the PDF form sent over here. So I had to make sure I had it on my new iPad before I even bought this. I don't know. So it's a whole big thing. But at any rate, it is here. And part of the reason, other than the symbol keeping, is I watch YouTube on my iPad when I stitch. And if I'm going to sit down to stitch on something like this intricate and stuff, I really want my things, like my show to watch and whatever. So hopefully Vibrant Vistas will be officially back in the rotation. I am down to 10 whips. This makes 11, and I am pretty darn sure there's going to be a new one arriving any day now, if that Country Cottage Christmas one is what I think, or Little House, I don't know which. I know it's probably very annoying to the designers that we can't keep them straight, but that is the reality. I'm just putting things back with their like items. Oh, so that's it in the stitching world. I have some books to talk about. Let me see. The first book I read this month was Vinegar Hill, and it is a book that came out, I think, in 1994. Probably picked it up at the library book sale this summer. So I picked it up and immediately did not like the main character, which doesn't bode well, but as the story unfolds, you sort of get a different perspective, a different idea. It takes place in the early 1970s, and it's a young family. The mother is a teacher, and they have 2 children. And the husband, due to some unfortunate events, they end up moving back in with the husband's parents. And that relationship is so layered and complex, and the things that have gone on. And so the story works its way through all of that and is very interesting. It's not a very thick book. It probably only took me a few days to read because it was so... It kept my attention. So that was a good one. Like I said, it's been around for a while. Probably a lot of people have already read it, but I hadn't. Then I read a John Grisham. Again, probably came from the library book sale. I have read every John Grisham book with the exception of, well, the YA ones. I read one just to get an idea. And then I think maybe I haven't read the one about baseball, Calico Joe. But who knows? I might someday. But I like them enough, and they don't, and that I will, if I'm looking for an audiobook from the library, sometimes I download one because I like the person who reads them. So I hadn't recalled reading or listening to this one since it first came out. So I picked it up. It's good if you like a legal thriller. I picked up another one. Don't like it anywhere near as much. Definitely haven't listened to this audio version because if I'd have remembered, I probably would have passed on it. But what am I, halfway through? I'll stick with it. It's almost like a series of short stories with the same lawyer. I don't know. Don't go out of your way. Then this one had been on my wish list, and I got it at Amazon at some point recently and read it. So Dani Shapiro is a woman. She's around my age. The first book I read by her, which is one of her newer ones, this is one of her oldest ones, maybe the second book that came out. The first book I read, called Inheritance, I'll put a cover shot here. That's what book I saw on my fire and thought I could get a cover shot to just show you. Inheritance was just a really, really interesting story. She, as in her mid-50s, on a whim, did a 23andMe kind of DNA test and rocked her world. But in that book, she refers back to this phase of her life in her early 20s, 20 to 24-ish, something like that. And it was just interesting, intriguing, and I thought, oh, maybe I'd like to read that. So, slow motion, Dani Shapiro. I can't say I'd recommend it. I guess at some point there's only so many books about people making really incredibly bad choices and, trying to make their way through those early years that I really care to read. But what happened when I was reading this... First of all, I already knew the book Inheritance that came out, 25 years after this phase of her life happened. So that was an interesting, piece of knowledge to have in my head as I'm reading this. But it led me to look her up online just to see where she was, because I didn't really remember from Inheritance what was going on in her life. How had she ended up, in her mid-50s, she's not at the end of her life, but how did she get through this very difficult, poor choice-ridden phase of her life? And I discovered she has a podcast called Family Secrets, and that led down that rabbit hole. I was already part way down that rabbit hole because a couple years ago, well, my daughter and I both did the 23andMe thing, and there's no big secrets or mysteries in my family, but in my husband's side of the family, there's a lot of mystery, and So we have been spending, I talk about, if we get on Ancestry.com and the whole evening is gone. The whole afternoon is gone as we start going down the rabbit holes. My husband's family immigrated from Ireland. And his great-grandmother, so my daughter's great-great-grandmother, was the first generation born in the United States in the late 1800s. But there were three generations: my husband's mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, that great-grandmother, the first born in the United States, that died young and with young children. So that's the mystery. There's just so many. No, there's not ever been anybody to fill in a lot of knowledge gaps. And they all lived in Brooklyn, like generation after generation. And just so interesting. We have some old pictures and just sort of the piecing together of who those are and what was going on. And we didn't even really know names. We've discovered some really interesting details. But when it comes to, so that's just the mystery. When it comes to the secrets, that's the most interesting. That's just, there's a family that I know before I did my 23andMe that one of the adults in the family was adopted. And so in the interest of searching for their own family roots, biological family roots, they found something that was just earth-shattering. It's not my story to tell, so I'm not going to, but just the sort of like eye-popping things that can happen when, So anyway, the book Inheritance, I enjoyed that because of that. There's another book, I'll show you a photo here, that I read a couple years ago called Not My Father's Son. That's a good one. Another good one that I read in my library book club. And now Dani Shapiro's podcast Family Secrets I'm totally engrossed. And then the secrets aren't all DNA related. A lot of the people she has interviewed thus far, I started back in season 1, and she might be in season 5 of her podcast, are stories told by people who have reached a point in their life where they are writing books about their story, that kind of thing. So it's just interesting. It is definitely interesting, the whole secret part of it. So if you're like to listen to podcasts, I would suggest going and looking. There's some that are just tiny little short snippets where they have like a phone call-in line where people call in, and so their little snippets are just a few minutes long. But then she has whole 30 minutes, 45-minute, even up to an hour-long podcasts. There was one called The Secret Son, which I was looking forward to listening to, and it turns out that the recording that you hear is another story under another title. So that's a screw up somewhere. But I wanted to hear that story. I'm sure I can pretty much assume the details, but interesting all the same. So that's what I've been doing. Podcasts, Flosstube, stitching. It's turning to fall. It's pouring, raining today. COVID is not nice. Been kind to our area again. So I'm mostly avoiding all the out in the world contact beyond, grocery shopping and stuff. But over the summer, thank God over the summer, we had the lull that we had. I think it saved a lot of us that we could have a summer where we did some things, not all willy-nilly, but my daughter's wedding for one, and I managed to have some time back at our country club, card playing and so on. Card playing is going on, but I'm not participating. There's no mask wearing in that situation. I mean, I could wear a mask, but the people I'm sitting around a card table with aren't wearing masks. So I would just as soon stay safe, not be sick. So it's a good time to get lots of sewing, lots of reading done. And if we've turned the corner on summer, which I am not sorry about, I love fall leading into the Christmas. I don't mind winter. Fall, then winter, then summer, then spring might be my favorite seasons. Now, living on a lake, I really, really, really like what sort of activities we can do in the summer, but you're limited to the weather being good, and, there tend to be things you do in groups, so it's not like, when I'm home alone that I'm taking the boat out or anything like that. So anyway, I've rambled on and rambled and rambled. And I'm looking forward to putting some nice supper in the oven that'll roast, bake all afternoon, and all the things on a rainy day. So I hope everybody's well and enjoying their stitching. And again, thanks for the love from my previous video of all the whip wannabes. And the perk to getting a later video than the first one I made is I did not tell you the story about the bat that got in my house. That's why I'm not stitching bats. I don't stitch bats because they're not cute. They're not funny. They're very much not funny. I hate to say we're not new to having a bat in the house, but it's been a number of years. In our last house, we lived on top of a hill. It was always a little bit windy. There weren't trees around, so that we didn't have mosquitoes. We didn't have bats. And we didn't think we really had bats around here, but that's kind of silly because they're in all the towns. Like any town you walk through that's in one of these lake towns, you just hear the bats twittering and flying over. That's just what they do, and we never heard them here, ever. So they just need to live on the outside. I don't mind them outside. I don't want them inside. That's what I'm saying. And also, in this video versus the one that got lost, I forgot to plug in my microphone. So there, you get that. You get to hear me ramble better. So, anywho, have a good one. Bye-bye.